Deep would be like a synchronized swimming number from like overhead. It'd be like a shot and just
Yes.
like, it'd be a nice.
Ma sarete delle divinità colleriche. Mostratemi la vostra ira.
Non promette niente di buono.
Butcher says that popularity is power. What kind of power do you think that is popularity?
And I think popularity gives you influence, and I think that's what he's referring to. You know, the more people who know who you are, they listen to your voice, especially if those people care about you and if they like you, then they tend to be influenced by you. That's the power of celebrity. That's something that we address on the show quite often. You know, that's like Homelander's internal battle. Although he feels a certain way about something, a lot of times he will cater to his popularity just to make sure that he is loved and adored by fans, because he understands that ultimately is power amongst people that he feels like is below him. But I feel like that's the truth, you know, in terms of popularity across the board. You know, if you can, and it was the same thing. It goes back to something as basic as being in high school. The popular kids, they set the tone for what was cool because they said so. It's just because they were popular, they were well known, and it's just somehow, some way, that's just kind of how it's become.
We see in the show that self-branding could lead to the dark side. So how can we, if we have to do self-branding, how can we don't go too far into a black hole?
No, again, yeah. I mean, as actors too, I think we, get exposed to that side of too much kind of, you can get internal and be too focused and a little bit selfish, right? With almost you as like a commodity, right? Like, you start to feel like you have to do this, that, and the other thing to always be pleasing people and constantly putting yourselves out there and sort of, it makes you think about that side of it, especially with like the Instagram and then social media now can be a little bit corrosive mentally, and that's the great thing about Kripke and the show being what it is. And, it's the veneer of these superheroes, but it's a way to talk about these real issues that are going on. And he's done that from the jump. And I think that's really what makes the show so popular and so topical.
We could say that two villains in this TV show are racism and toxic masculinity. So are you glad of being part of a show like The Boys? And do you believe that is important, it can contribute to the conversation?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's pretty interesting to see these two guys who are so enveloped in like their own story and so enveloped in their own lives that they can't necessarily see past it in a lot of ways. And the huge conflicts of the show just become down to like a huge pissing contest. You know what I mean? It's never... It's like the pettiest at the highest levels, like the pettiest problems, and it just continues to occur just because of like an egotistical standpoint, and unfortunately it's affected so many other people and so many other lives, and it's because these guys can't see past point A. And unfortunately, it is reflective of the world around us, and it happens with people in a position of power. It happens with people that are popular and famous and rich and political power, like politically powerful. It just happens on a regular basis. And I think this show does a great job of exploiting that and showing just how silly it can be, but yet how drastically it can affect the people around them, whether they see it or not.
I love A-Train music video. Starlight has a song too. So I really want The Boys musical. What would you be your number if you ever would do that?
The deep would be like a synchronized swimming number from like overhead. It'd be like a shot and just
Yes.
it'd be a nice. You know, straight out of the Little Mermaid, Under the Sea. You know
Under the sea.
Yeah.
Under the sea would be great. Under the sea would be great. That would be so
That's
funny.
what it would be, you know. I got the
Yes.
fork in my hair, and yeah, it'd be great.
Oh my
It
god.
would be amazing, like Ben Stiller in Zoolander, like a mermaid. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
I can picture, yeah.
Yeah.
Merman, yeah, absolutely.
And you?
Oh, man, yeah, if they did the boys musical, I feel like A-Train would I think there's a decent amount of space for A-Train to explore like an emotional song, you know what I mean? I think he does such a good job of putting up a wall and putting on a front and not really letting people know what's going on inside of his head and in his heart. And I think eventually it'd be nice to see him do like a ballad, you know, just a piano.
That'd be awesome, actually. Yeah.
A piano and him, just kind of Black Noir could be playing the melody.
And do you believe that power, in your case, in the case of these characters, superpowers, changes people, or simply shows what they really are? Now you are playing these characters for years, so their powers make them more them, or they have changed them, in your opinion?
I think there's always that. I think it does both. I think right, it can change someone, and you know, it's a bit like any sort of downward slide with like an addiction or what have you, when there's like a taste of it, you want a little more, and if it can expose like a darker side, I imagine with you know, like the manipulative side there, right? It can be a little bit tempting, as we see with Homelander and some of these characters, where if you know, the more power they get, especially with the powers and, you know, political capital or what have you, they can influence things, and that's how, you know, human nature becomes corrupted, right?
Would you consider your characters more heroes or more villains? And if you think that they're villains, what makes a villain, in your opinion?
Oh man, that's a good question. What makes a villain?
Yeah.
I think a villain, I don't know. What makes a villain? That's a good question.
I know, because it's interesting. Our show deals with like the gray area, right? So much of that, and like, you know, toxic masculinity, obviously, like you said, with the deep, you know what I mean? I think a lot of the stuff, and Homelander included, it's he feels like he's misunderstood, and the deep's this fragile person. I don't really think they're doing anything wrong.
Right.
Most of the time, it's almost more like an entitlement, right? I feel like they're entitled to this thing, and you know, with Homelander, I guess he's like this deep well of sort of insecurity, and he lashes out, and his need for attention comes out in different ways. But it's fun to explore that sort of gray area in the show.
Yeah, I think A-Train, you know, I feel like he is very much corrupted, but I feel like in the back of his mind, he still feels like he's a superhero.
Right, yeah.
You know, like I feel like he thinks, regardless if he's doing something good or bad, he's doing it with like the right intention, or thinking that somehow, some way, it is the lesser of the two evils. And I just think he's been so corrupted and misconstrued that his perception of reality is just completely warped, you know, and it's just taken out of a grand scale and into like an individual case by case basis, which then becomes extremely dangerous, you know. Hopefully one day he'll kind of get a grip and see the big picture.
Just a curiosity, do you look at fish tanks in a different way now?
Yeah, I'm always like walking by and I'm like, oh wait, hi. How are you? Yeah. One day, okay. I'll get you out one day.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina.
Great work. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.